I am here to tell you my step-by-step process that I went through to get out of my $17,000 worth of credit card debt with a business that wasn't making six figures yet. If you're new here, I'm Hunter Myers, the face and mind behind Virtual Design Co. Typically, we talk about branding on this channel, but actually today I want to talk about debt. And there's a couple reasons why. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Like, it almost feels like everyone in my family has that entrepreneurial spirit, but they are not necessarily financially savvy. So I did not grow up learning how to navigate money in a way that would help my business be successful and help alleviate a lot of the financial stressors and stress that you experience as a business owner. So to give you an idea, I grew up with my mom. She was undiagnosed bipolar. She went on a lot of shopping sprees and things like that. I was getting calls from credit card companies looking for her that I would be pushing off to someone else during my childhood. And so I did not have a good relationship with money when I entered business. And this led me to accrue over $17,000 worth of credit card debt. And the reason that I want to talk about this today is because I know that I am not the only person who has or had debt. This is, in my opinion, kind of an epidemic here in our country, the United States. We've got student loan debt, which I've got that too. There's tons of credit card debt. Like, it's wild over here. And in business, I find that we tend to go into debt to get our businesses up and running, which is what I did. Now, not all of that $17,000 was business debt, but I was also, foolishly, combining my personal and business finances together, which we'll talk about that down the line. But I am here to tell you my step-by-step process that I went through to get out of my $17,000 worth of credit card debt with a business that wasn't making six figures yet. So I was making under six figures and was still able to get out of $17,000 worth of this debt because of the system that I followed. Now, I'm also going to tell you that I am not a financial advisor. I'm not anything like that. I did work with someone really special to me. Her name is Nashira Linton. She is a financial therapist, and it is because of her and the things that she taught me and that I learned, because again, I didn't learn these things growing up, that allowed me to make the moves that I did to get out of debt as quickly as possible. Now, if you want to learn more about Nashira, I do have a podcast episode. I'll link it up top that you can go check out. I love Nashira, and she taught me to view my money from a values perspective, where I was seeing why I was spending on things. And so she didn't believe in just cutting everything out and going cold turkey and just not spending it all on anything in order to get out of debt. That was not her belief. And I really appreciate that because I know that that wouldn't have worked for me. So instead, she helped me figure out how to stop spending on the credit card, still pay the bills that I had to pay while adding on additional payments to get out of the debt. And this first started with step number one, which is looking at the numbers. Now, if you're anything like me, I dreaded this process. Like, the number of times that I was crying on a call with Nashira is more than I am willing to share. It was a lot, okay? And I avoided these numbers because they freaked me out. In my mind, if I looked at the numbers, I was going to spiral, I wouldn't be able to get through it. And Nashira reminded me that we cannot tackle this problem without looking at it. So that is the first step. Then we had to devise a plan of how I was going to stop spending on the credit card, because we were never going to get out of the debt if I kept adding to it with additional purchases. So we looked at what my budget was, what my bills specifically were, and how to make sure that those were getting covered with my income from my bank account and we're no longer relying on the credit card. The next step was to get the money off of the credit card. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have looked at your APR on your credit cards lately. I hadn't looked, and my credit card was charging me 28%. That was my interest. Do you know how much money 28% interest on $17,000 is over the lifetime of my payments? It is a shitload. Okay, it was a lot of money. And so Nashira was like, we need to get this off of here and onto a loan that's going to have a lower interest rate. Now, I was very hesitant because I had already tried this technique by myself previously. The problem was I didn't stop my spending on the credit card during that time. And so I actually just wound up in more debt as opposed to actually getting out of the debt. And so that is why if you are trying to do this and you're like, oh, well, I already tried that and it didn't work, you have to make sure that you do the step prior to this, which was stop spending on the credit card. Now, once that debt was transferred over, the loan that I got had a 14% interest rate, which is half of the 28% that I was paying. So Nashir did some calculating for me. I don't have the numbers up with me. I should have gotten them, but she showed me how much money I was saving in just this transfer, in just interest, by getting it off of the credit card. And that gave me some of that motivation that I needed to show up and keep taking these steps. Because paying off debt, especially big chunks of debt, is a long road. It takes time, it takes diligence, it takes consistency, but I promise it is possible. And I'm going to show you a couple of the things that I did to speed this process up. The first thing was that I looked for any additional income that I could find. So I knew the income that was coming in for my expenses. I knew it was coming through the business. I knew what I was getting from different channels, but it wasn't enough to move me through this loan payment as quickly as possible. I wanted to get out of debt fast. If any of you know me, you know that I hate having payments. I hate it. I will almost always pay for things in full because I cannot stand owing money on a regular basis. But I didn't have $17,000 to drop on this credit card debt, so I had to make payments, but I was looking for ways that I could add additional income. And the thing that I found was Rover. So if you don't know what Rover is, it is essentially a pet sitting app. Now, the reason this was really good for me is because I already worked remotely, so I could just go do that from someone else's house. Make additional income on top of what I was bringing in the business from clients. Any money that came in from Rover was immediately directed to the loan. So it's almost like I didn't see that money at all. It would hit my account and immediately I would direct it to the loan. So that was one thing that I did. The other thing that I did was through the bank that I use. So this is Bluevine. It is the business bank that I use, and it is one that I have an affiliate link for. I've been using them for 5 years. I really, really like them. So they provide you the opportunity to make sub accounts, and you can automatically set up transfers from account to account to keep your money organized. And on top of that, all of their accounts earn higher interest than traditional banks do. So I was with a traditional bank before I switched over to Bluevine, and I swear to God, I kick myself in the ass for not making the switch sooner. I didn't know any better because I had no idea what high yield savings even was, right? Like I only had heard of traditional banks where they give you like 0.02% on a savings account. I'm like, how the hell does anyone ever save money here? But whatever. What's great about Bluevine is they offer you whatever their percentage rate is. Right now, I believe it's 1.3 for their free account where you don't have to make any payments to open up this account, 1.3% interest on the whole account. So any money that came in through the business, I would direct 5% of that into one of these sub accounts. That account was earning interest. And then every time I would go to release myself a bonus, sometimes it was yearly, sometimes I would do it every 6 months, that money that I released to myself and paid to myself that had been accruing interest that I wasn't even looking at, the money would hit my account, it would automatically split, and I just ignored that money. Like that was untouchable money until I released the bonus. And I would immediately apply that bonus to the debt. Now, why is this important? For me, if I see money in an account, especially a checking account, I'm going to assume that I can spend that money. That is just how my brain works. The more money's in the account, the more I feel like I can buy things, which is why I really struggled, I think, with the credit cards because it kind of works backwards. So yeah, I struggled quite a bit there. But by being able to create these sub accounts and automatically shift the 5% over, which for some projects, it was no more than maybe $5 to $20, but it didn't matter because over time that money really started to add up. But it was automatically happening, so I didn't have to think about it. It was not an additional step that I had to go through while already trying to contemplate how many of these payments do I have to make? What additional things do I need to move to make sure I'm not using the credit card? Like there's just so much going on in your mind when you are trying to pay off debt. And Bluevine allowed me to remove some of those pieces to make this process so much easier. By making these additional payments, I was able to cut my loan time almost in half. So $17,000 that I used to think was absolutely impossible to eliminate, I was able to knock out because of the help that I got and the systems that we built. So if you are experiencing this, no matter what your number is, I want you to know that it is possible to get rid of the debt. There are tools to help you. There are people who will help you. And please know I am living proof as someone who did not come from a financially successful home where we talked about money and talked about how to do things well and how to save and how to avoid debt and things like that. Having no experience, I was able to do this. So if you are a business owner and you are in the same boat, I highly recommend pausing, following these steps, reaching out to the people who can help you, getting an account that is going to serve you better than a traditional bank will, finding that extra income, moving money aside to make this happen. The relief that I felt when I made the final payment on that loan is indescribable. And I really, truly feel like this process that I have just walked you through changed my life and my business. So again, if you are in this boat, I hope that this gives you some bit of hope in your own journey of getting through your debt, because you do not have to live with it forever. It is possible to move through it, and it is possible to do so without making tons of money. Again, my business was bringing in less than 6 figures, and I was still able to make this happen. Now, again, I know I said that typically we talk about branding here on this channel, but because we are entering the holiday season, because so many people are experiencing debt right now, I just saw someone talk about it on Reels not too long ago. I think it's so important that we address this and that I share with you my story. So if you see me successful here, know that I also struggled with these things and it is okay. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you are able to use some of these tools and resources. I'll link everything in the descriptions. I'll link to Nashira's podcast episode, Nashira's website. I'll go ahead and also link to Bluevine if you want to check them out and potentially get an account there. And know that I'm here to support you, mostly in branding, but even if it's just a little encouragement to get through your own debt, that is what I am here for. I'm wishing you the best. If you like this video, subscribe, hit the little icon, share it with your friends, and I will see you in the next one.